again, everybody. It's your old pal, the History Nerd, and I am not in the man cave. No, I am in Opelika, Alabama for the Brewzle Whiskey Festival. Now, if you don't know, Brewzle is a YouTube channel dedicated to bourbon. And in the 2 years from posting its first video to today, it's become the most popular bourbon channel on YouTube. They're closing in on 700,000 subscribers. Heck, it's big enough that they can put on their own cotton picking bourbon festival right here in Alabama. I scored VIP tickets to this event, so in the words of Mr. T, let's quit the jibber jabber.
Got no time for the jibber jabber.
And come along with me as we enjoy the VIP experience at the Brewzle Whiskey Festival. Y'all, we're here with the man, the myth, the legend, TJ Gamble, the brains behind Brewzle, which is the apex predator of bourbon channels.
Makes me sing so
TJ is a big old boy like me, so we are testing the boundaries of the widescreen format. But TJ,
if you had longer arms, it wouldn't be a problem.
Tell me your origin story, my friend. Why did you start the Brewzle channel?
So pandemic, bored, had 20 or so bottles of whiskey on the bar. Decided I'd start playing around a little bit on TikTok. Had some success there on TikTok, and so I can't stop now. So really moved over to YouTube, focused mostly on YouTube from where we really got started in about July of 2022. And just enjoy it because it's a social hobby. Like, it really is about the people and less about the whiskey. The whiskey has to be good enough, and you have good enough whiskey with cool folks, you're having a good time.
Now, you started 2 years ago. You're bordering on 700,000 subscribers.
Nuts.
You got your own bourbon festival. Now you're releasing your own bourbon, Oak Bowery Bourbon. Tell us real quick about Oak Bowery Bourbon.
Oak Bowery 1, OB1, is our first release. It's going to be about 80%, I think it's 40-something% Old Dominick high rye bourbon and about 40% Old Dominick low rye bourbon out of Memphis. We purchased Wheat State Distilling out of Kansas, and we acquired all of their barrels in that purchase agreement. It's going to have, the rest of that percentage, 17-18% is going to be that Wheat State distillate. So the blend turned out pretty good. We've got a lot to learn. I'm happy with the product that we put out. We've still got a lot of lessons to learn. Getting labels approved and sizing labels and finding the right bottles and all the things that go into it is a skill that takes a lot of effort. So I'm proud of the effort that we put into this one and the product that we've put out. But I feel like this is just the beginning, and it's just going to get better and better from here.
And folks can get it off your Patreon?
Yeah, you'll be able to. If you're in the Brewzle Club, if you're in our Patreon, we'll post when those are available. I mean, obviously they're for sale here at the festival. It'll take us a while to get distribution to our retailer in Texas for our barrel picks for Brewzle Club. But join the Patreon. There's a free tier. You'll get information and notices when those are actually in Texas. Honestly, probably going to be early next year before we have them there. At earliest December, but realistically probably January before those are available.
Well, brother, let me thank you for all the laughs, all the entertainment. I'm one of the many thousands who look for your content every week. The Friday drops, the Monday live streams. Thanks for all you do for our hobby, my friend.
Dude, thank you.
So y'all, we're inside the Brewzle Whiskey Festival. We have our VIP lanyard that gets you in the VIP area, and the lanyard has a special elastic strap that holds your Glencairn so you can walk to the various tents and get your bourbon samples. Now, Brewzle is a big supporter of craft distilleries. So the distilleries here, they're not your big distilleries. There's no Buffalo Trace. There's no Maker's Mark. There's no Jim Beam, Jack Daniels. There's not even like the Rabbit Holes of the world. There's no barrel bourbons. It's folks like Crittenden's, Old Dominick, John Emerald, which is made here in Alabama. It's small craft distilleries, but the good thing is with a VIP pass and your Glencairn, you can sample as much as you want all day long. All right, everybody, we're here with Kenny from Bourbon Pursuit. You know the channel. They're famous for their bourbon roundtable, their bourbon reviews, their bourbon news, and yes, their Pursuit bourbon. They're here at the Brewzle Whiskey Festival. Kenny, what in blue hell are you doing here at the Brewzle Bourbon Festival?
You know, this was something that TJ and Brewzle asked me to be here, and they have been a blessing for us. They've been so good to us. I can't tell you how many times people have come to our distillery because we have to say, how did you find out about us? And a lot of people say, I found out about you because of Brewzle. And so I said, well, I got to come down there and repay the favor and make sure that we are also giving back to his community as well.
Pursuit Bourbon does not have distribution here in Alabama, but they do have awesome bourbon, and you should check it out. I have the Double Oaked. It is quite tasty. What's next for Bourbon Pursuit? Anything in the offing?
I can tell you something because it just got, this is probably going to come out later after editing, so we just had something to get approved by the TTB. So one of the interesting things about where we are located in Louisville is that we sit on the corner of Frankfort and Melwood Avenue in Louisville, Kentucky, which was the original home of Melwood Distillery, which originally became General Distillers after Prohibition. And there was somebody in our community that found all the original labels from that distillery. So we are getting ready to go on a series of reviving vintage labels.
We are the History Nerds Man Cave channel. We love history. We love reviving history. Bourbon Pursuit's a great channel. They're on YouTube. They're on podcast. Must be 3 or 4 podcasts I download every week. And y'all check out Pursuit Bourbon. It's quite tasty. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, what do we got to sample, guys?
Well, we got the Clyde Mays Coralina. We got the original recipe of my grandfather, Clyde Mays, what we call Alabama-style whiskey. It's 85 proof. We got a 92 proof non-chill filtered straight bourbon. We got a straight rye right here that's aged for 4 years. It's 94 proof. Got one of our newer releases to commemorate the opening, soon-to-be opening of our new distillery in Troy, Alabama. It's what we call Conecuh Ridge Straight Bourbon. It's aged for 5 years and it's bottled at 100.6 proof. And then we have our small batch, what we like to call our special reserve. It's 6 years old and 110 proof. Welcome to try anything you like.
I will go for the special reserve, my friend, because I am a proof whore and proud of it.
All right. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. What do we got to choose from here?
Well, these two are my favorite two. This one's a Tennessee whiskey that's bottled and bond, 5 year, and then this is a 6 year single cask strength, 121 proof, 6 year high rye bourbon on the shelf under $50.
No way.
Yep.
Awesome.
It's the star of the show.
Y'all have distribution in Alabama?
We're with the state, so yeah,
okay.
they carry us. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, let me up on the cash
This
strength.
was the star of the show 2 days ago in Atlanta.
Awesome.
Michter's 10 was right behind it. That's all I'm saying.
When am I going to do my next road trip? I'm trying to talk Jill into going with me in November. I've got to go out to Vegas for SEMA. I'm trying to talk her into going with me and hitting all of the West Coast and up across the top of the country and back down and hit the states we're missing on the Midwest. I don't know if she's going to do it, and if she doesn't, next year sometime. We're trying very hard to hit at least every single continental United States by the end of next year. And we might get Alaska, Hawaii, who knows? But I'd really like to try to get them all by the end. If we can hit that road trip this year, I think we stand a really strong chance of hitting them all and have bourbon hunted in all 50 U.S. states by the end of next year. Which was a lot harder than I thought. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's 50 states, not a big deal. We'll hit all 50 of them. And then you drive across Texas and you realize maybe I need more time to get to some of these states than I anticipated. And some of them don't make videos, unfortunately. Virginia and North Carolina and Pennsylvania and places like that. Alabama, really. I mean, we do have some Alabama videos, but it's just more like the lottery stuff. And they won't let us film. The state-run states won't let us film in the store. So if a big event like in Alabama's happening outside the store, we get to film it. But once we go inside the store, like an event like that, we might sneak a camera in, just kind of go through. But if we're like walking into a store and having conversations and talking about bottles, they very quickly ask us to shut it down. So I've got, if you want to see the Virginia hunt, I'll put that video out. It's about 30 seconds long. It's me walking in, having a conversation. They're like, the dude beelining past me to the back, the manager coming out and saying, "Is that a camera?" Yes. You can't film in here. So it's a really good vid, probably our best one. That's all. Go for it.
Why start a distillery?
Why start a distillery? I am a glutton for punishment. So, I mean, honestly, full disclosure, let's talk about this. Starting a distillery is probably the worst idea I've ever had. And so it's capital intensive, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time, but I also enjoy making things. Like I enjoy working with my hands and crafting something. And I've been looking for stuff, like one of the reasons I like cars, like I like restored old cars and doing stuff when I have time. Like I like doing something tangible. And in my career, like I own an e-commerce agency, so we build websites that sell things, right? So you do a bunch of work and it's this digital thing on a screen. And it's great for those companies, they make a lot of money, you know, it pays for my bills and stuff, so it's fun. But like realistically, you just don't feel like you actually crafted anything. So it's fun to, you know, just tangibly do something with your hands and make something. And the easy way is just to source whiskey. Like we could go work with somebody there. I've got 30 people in my inbox right now that have emailed us, found out we're trying to start a brand. It's like, we'll make it for you, we'll make your whiskey, we'll do whatever you want. And we could do that. And we're gonna have to source whiskey. Like Oak Bowery will be a sourced whiskey brand. And because it takes like I don't like whiskey till at least 6 years old. Like that's why everything in this is 6 years old. I'm not saying everything we put out will be 6 years old, but we really want it to be. And so that's where whiskey starts to get interesting and good for me. And so, you know, I could distill and I could just sit on it for 6 years before I put out anything, but then I'll go broke because like you got to make a bunch of barrels every year, and I have no idea how many barrels I'm going to need in 6 years. So the answer is, how many barrels do you make? As many as you can afford to make. I also don't want to do like some of these folks do and take out a bunch of debt and go into debt for it, because, you know, oftentimes debt, especially if that debt's expensive, makes you make decisions that are short-sighted and not necessarily for the long term. And so we don't want to do that. We want to make the absolute best whiskey we can possibly produce. And we're going to have a lot of lessons to learn to do that. We're not going to do it right away, okay? It's going to take some time. I think we can do really good blending and sourcing whiskey. I think we can make a lot of great whiskey for the Oak Bowery brand, but that brand is really to try to, you know, create something unique. We don't want anything that anybody else has. One of the things I love about this is, sure, we pulled a couple of old Dominic barrels, but we're doing a blend of, even if we'd have just blended the old Dominic, that's not something they put in the market, a blend of their high and low rye. But we also added those wheat steak barrels that are basically ghost barrels. Like that distillery doesn't exist. The barrels we're housing from here of theirs are the only ones in existence ever. So you'll never, that sorghum whiskey, that wheat whiskey, you're never going to try that anywhere else, because this is the only place that exists. So we're going to continue to try to do that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of distilleries that are going to go out of business over the next several years. We're going to try to, you know, buy as much of that inventory of unique stuff as we can. We're going to try to source some stuff from some mainstream producers, but I would like for more than half of it to be non-Kentucky producers, just to make sure it's different. Most people want Kentucky bourbon. I want non-Kentucky bourbon. Like there's a lot of great, Kentucky bourbon is great. Kentucky bourbon is great because Kentucky's been doing it for a long time, not because that's the only place you can make great bourbon. Like they've been doing it for hundreds of years at this point, and Alabama's been doing it for 10. So there's great bourbon being made everywhere right now, and we want to do all we can to showcase a lot of that. So we want to make sure we source from different places, do unique expressions, and try to build a really nice bottle that's affordable. I know this one's not. This is a stupid price on this bottle. I'm just letting y'all know. But that's what we did the math. I'm making $4 a bottle on that at this festival, just so y'all know. And that's before we pour all of those that we're pouring out there. So I probably lose money on each bottle. But we had to learn those lessons, right? We had to do it the hard way. We had to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And we're going to make a lot of great whiskey, and that's going to fund us actually distilling our own. And we're not going to be a big distillery. We're never going to be a huge distillery. We're never going to make it in mass or in bulk. We're just going to have a good time and try to make the absolute best whiskey we can, no compromises, regardless of what it costs.
Amen.
All right, folks, that's it. I've been here for about 5 hours, drinking every cask strength, high octane bourbon I can find. I got a belly full of bourbon, folks, but it's been a good time. Got to talk to Kenny from Bourbon Pursuit. Got to talk to TJ Gamble, the brains behind the whole Brewzle phenomenon. It was a great time. I hope they have another.
It's a great time.
Lots of people been drinking cask strength bourbon, folks. This is the first annual Brewzle Whiskey Festival. I'm hoping to have a second one. If they do, I'll be here. I'll be here for all of them, folks. So I hope you've enjoyed this peek behind the scenes at the VIP experience at the Brewzle Whiskey Festival. Let me say, as I always do, I want you all to be good, be well, be happy, and I'll check you on the next History Nerds Man Cave video.